There you go. That mine floats. You don't have to reach down for Ben's.
Matt and Ben, or
Matt and Ben.
It doesn't matter. It's fine. What do you want to say?
Okay, before we announce our first speakers, I do want to announce something else that we forgot in opening comments. Last year was our first Capture the Flag event. This year, and it was a dual city?
Last year was dual.
Dual city between Bsides Chicago and Bsides Detroit. This year, it's a tri-city Capture the Flag event. Not only Bsides Chicago and Bsides Detroit, but there's a new con in town called Circle City Con. The CTF story will continue between all three conferences. As far as we know, this is the first Tri-City CTF. D-Tom, the CTF is open? CTF is open, so you guys can start playing there. So, way to go, guys. Our first speakers are Matt and Ben, and their talk is Call to Community. Call of Community.
Modern Warfare.
Modern Warfare 7.
Get it right.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah. How's it going, Bsides Chicago? You guys good? So this is the crew that actually didn't stay out too late and got completely hammered last night. So thanks for coming up early for our talk. Like I said, I'm Ben 10.
I'm Matt Johnson.
All right, and this is the Call Up Community. So if this is your first time at a conference, or you don't come to conferences very often, I want to encourage you not to be the isolated person sitting off by himself. So, like, you're sitting there and you're like, hey, that's awesome, C75, he's so cool. And your brain's like, yeah, I should go say hi to him. And you're like, no, man, I don't want to do that. But your brain's like, yeah, go say something cool. So then you go up and you're like, how about those SSL bleeds, right? And then your brain slaps you in the face, you suck. So, everyone, when you guys see somebody new, say, how about those SSL bleeds? Let's try it. How about those SSL bleeds? Woo!
All right, I'm Matt Johnson. I'm the co-founder of PoshSec, which we'll cover here in a little bit.
We're in the screen, dude.
What?
I'm in the screen.
Yeah, I know. That's weird.
All right.
I'm also the co-host on the newly formed Leveled Up InfoSec podcast. Our first episode will go out Monday or Tuesday. I'm a MySec member, father to Kid Zero, and husband to Lajo 82.
It doesn't even show up over there. It's like all blocked out. And so before we get started, we're big into games, and you're going to see different slides behind us. We have a prize if you can tell us after the talk, the first person, of every game that we're referencing. So it started here. So if you want to play along, if you guys can tell us every game that we've referenced on our slides, we've got a prize for you. I'm Ben 10. I've got over 13 years in healthcare information systems. I'm a VP security officer. I write programs, and I do security consultant and training. So before we get started, we want to say thanks to all the websites we ripped off to use images for this deck. We have a full attribution slide at the very end, so we obviously didn't want to do all of that within this thing. So why this talk? Why us? Well, first of all and foremost, we're geeks. I feel like I'm blocking my slides.
I feel like here. That's better. Much better.
So I don't know if we can fix that or not, but I can't do anything with the slides right now. So, well, we're geeks. We're gamers most and foremost. I think that was one of the first things that we did when we were growing up. We love this community. We want to see this community get excited and get involved in what's going on. And I think most of all, we wanted to, when we grew up, we wanted to be like our gaming heroes. We didn't want to just, be nothing. So, like for me, I wanted to grow up to be Kirby. And, I loved his powers, his ability to just take on other things. But, I will tell you that trying to eat your teacher when you were upset is not appropriate. You have to go through counseling. So, it's not advisable to do exactly what your hero wants to do. And then Matt Johnson wanted to be Chun-Li. That is a sexy picture. I believe Matt's wife is in the audience, too, isn't she? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. So, here, without further ado, to talk a little bit more about PoshSec is Chun-Li.
So we're here to talk about, one of the things we're talking about is PoshSec. PoshSec's a framework to help InfoSec pros, IT administrators, the like, help better manage their security and monitor the security on their network. And it consists of actually two branches. One is the PoshSec PowerShell module. The other one is PoshSec Framework. So we're going to cover a little bit of the history of PoshSec to get going, so you have a little background. PoshSec was started by myself and Will Steele probably about 2 years ago, and we were chatting over Twitter about how we saw a lack of people in the security space using PowerShell to better their security posture. So we're brainstorming and we're working on this, and one day he calls me up and says, "Hey, I got something to tell you. I got terminal cancer." I'm like, "Oh, good. Hey, let's start a project." So we keep on going, and we keep on laying a lot of the groundwork for what PoshSec is today when he passed on Christmas Eve a couple of years ago. So I'm carrying on his honor. I'm glad to be working with the group that I am to keep on moving this project forward. So the first thing I realized after Will was gone, that I needed a team besides myself, because Project of One is nice, but I could grow some more. So I needed to help a bunch of ninjas. So I reached out and on Twitter, and I caught some pretty good people: Wolfgang, Nick Jacob, Michael Ortega, Rich Casera, and we started working on this, and we released our first module probably about 6 months after we got going, and I was glad because I had some brilliant minds, some good InfoSec people behind us pushing us forward. So one of the goals of PoshSec originally was that we focused on the top 20 controls, and that was a very, it was an effort led specifically by Nick Jacob to get a lot of this code in there. And so we all started learning the top 20 controls, starting to understand them so that we could help people in that space. So, but also while we do the top 20 controls, we're branching out into different areas, and in future releases we'll add more of this, but we're doing forensics, server hardening, you name it, and you need to do it in security and Windows, we're gonna add it, or we'd like to look at adding it. So there's the current team of people. You can probably Google them to get their Twitter handle. I should have thrown that in there, but we have it at the end. So we'll. This is the core group right now, but we're looking for people to help us grow and make this go a little bit better. So and grow more. So one of the modules that we have around the top 20 controls is the account monitoring control section of the controls. And this allows people who aren't intimately familiar with the tools out on their network, or don't have the tools installed, to actually go out with little effort to grab this information for auditing, for baselining, for change control, to make sure that things are the way they are going forward on their network as they were a little bit ago. So the account management has one of the better spots in our area, bigger modules in our area. We also cover some log management. We're getting more and more into this as we get a little more insight into some of the logs that are out there. So we cover DNS IAS. We also have some scripts that will let you set your event log policy to something that is industry recognized as a normal setting, but also ones that we've vetted out in our careers as InfoSec pros. Also, we do one of the things that we focus on is baselining. So to make sure that everything it was the last time you check it, built into a lot of our commandlets or functions or scripts, and going forward, are the ability to do baseline. So you can take a snapshot today and next week and pull up another snapshot. So we do some network baselining, which is some of the stuff we do. So open ports, wireless networks. What's the status of your Windows firewall? You can even baseline your account management and monitoring items. So definitely cool. But today we're standing up here. One of the things we're releasing PoshSec 1.0. So it's live right now on GitHub. We have a cleaner code base. some new additions. And we're hoping right now to do about 2 releases a year. We're looking at Bsides Chicago and probably DerbyCon or GerCon timeframe. You can download it now. I'm going to give it to Ben, and he's going to talk about PoshSec Framework.
So let me give you a little background. And if you've been to a couple of my other talks, I talk a little bit about this when back in the beginning of 2013, I realized that I wanted to do something more with the community. I wanted to be able to give back. One of the first ways that I got part of this community was I gave a security awareness talk. And I didn't want that to just be the only thing that I contributed. So I was like, you know what? I'm a developer. I've been writing programs since I was 12 years old. The first program I ever wrote was a 2D side-scrolling game. And you had little monsters that would come across the screen, and you'd push the space bar, and they would destroy them. What you didn't realize is that every bad guy that you deleted, it would randomly delete one of your files.
You should release that.
So the longer you played, the worse your system got. So they only got to like level 4 before they realized something was going on. So that was my original plan, is I wanted to create an open source sim, something that was going to be available for the low to no budget organizations or the small shops. You know, we have big enterprises, and a lot of you guys that are here, you deal with enterprises that are far bigger than anything I'll ever deal with. But I also know that a majority of all the issues that are happening out there aren't with the large enterprises. It's with all of the smaller ones. It's the small shops. It's the IT guy who's now the security administrator and really doesn't know what's going on. And they don't have $500,000 to drop on a sim. And so what I wanted to do was to create something to at least begin to change the security landscape and give people the opportunity to actually get a stronger security posture at their organization. So I was going to bake everything inside it, make it, you know, if someone wanted to contribute, that would be great. And I thought, hey, this will be great. I'll profit. No, it won't profit. It's free. And so I was going to continue my day job. And so, you know, to me, I thought, yeah, my first open source project is freaking awesome. And it wasn't all that great. So I went to Bsides Detroit, and I was still working on this, and I went to Matt's talk, and he began talking about PoshSec and PowerShell, and I know PowerShell and everything else like that, so I'm like, well, I'm not really sure I'm wanting to be a part of this, but I realized what he was doing. It wasn't just the PowerShell modules. It wasn't just the fact that he was trying to create all this. It was the fact that he was trying to get the community involved. And that's what got me excited. And I was like, you know what, Matt? Will you be my player too? And I'm like, our projects need to make, our projects, sorry, Matt's wife. He's open to new options, right?
Always.
Yeah, some things you can't unlearn. So I'm like, our projects need to come together. Because, yeah, it would be great if I baked everything inside, but what power and ability would I be able to do if I wrote something that leveraged what he wrote and maybe leveraged what other people wrote? And so we agreed, and we came up with the idea of creating the PoshSec Framework. And so this is an interface design, and we'll go through and I'll show you a little bit about it. But it's an interface design that's meant to wrap around PowerShell. It's automation. It's got many different faces. It's a Windows-based tool. Now, I know a lot of you guys are like, oh, no Windows. What if I told you that not every sysadmin prefers Linux? It's not, Linux is not everything. Not every sysadmin out there is, you know, doing it. I'm not saying that they're not, but you can't just assume. So with this being a Windows environment, with Windows environment being the most security underprivileged, I figured we would just write something that they didn't have to create a VM for or a new architecture. It's .NET. They can double-click the exe and go. And that was the whole idea, is I wanted to have the level of use to be really low that it didn't matter what your aptitude level was on the scale. You can utilize this and start being able to implement a lot of the features that PoshSec and other modules are presenting to the community without you having to become a script code monkey. So PoshSec Framework isn't just the sum of its code. It's just a nice little wraparound, but it pulls code from other different resources. So it'll pull code from PoshSec, but it'll also pull code from other projects that are out there as well. So in my opinion, you've got 3 different modes you can put it in. The first is like the green ninja mode, which is your system admin. your basic networking functions, whether you want to scan or audit your domains. I actually used this to clean up some dirty domains. We had a lot of stale entries in there. Well, this tool was actually able to tell me that I had stale records, and I was just able to, clean that up and get that all taken care of. I use this for patch management as well for some of our other clients, of whatever the case may be, who don't have a WSUS server, and so they want to be able to do that. You can use, it's just PowerShell. I just have a nice little interface on it. So you can kind of see here where it's kind of like an interface, and it's really just meant to be just a nice little system administrator tool. It'll scan your entire domain, it'll scan your tree, it'll go back, tell you the IP, whether it's up, it'll even pull their MAC address from your ARP table. And then when you select the checkboxes and everything else like that, it'll pass those systems to your PowerShell script. So if you want to run a script on APT10, you can just select that box, and then when you run your script, it'll send it to that box. So it's kind of like, just your basic system, administrator tool. So I'm like, yes, I can scan all the things and take control of my network, and we'll all be happy now. So the second option is that you could go with like, okay, so I'm going to be more of a defense side. I'm going to start working on thinking about how I can harden my network or do baselining on my networks, on my applications that are stalled. One of the things that I wrote that I really wanted to see was live port monitoring on a remote system, not just mine. So I wanted to sit on my box and watch every port open and close on your box on my network. And so I wrote a PowerShell script that does this, and it'll actually interact with the framework itself. So you can kind of watch here. And basically what I'm doing is I'm running my script, and it's going to basically create a baseline of all my current ports that I have active, that I opened. Now, I used this in an actual situation because I had seen some information from one of my syslogs come up, and it would only connect randomly. So I used the monitor script so that I could monitor every time that a port opened and closed, so I could figure out which process ID was calling it, and I could get at that type of information. So in this video, I'm actually just running a scan on my system, and I want to see which ports are actually going to pop open. And as you can see, it's a PowerShell script, but the moment that it starts to open and close some of the ports, it actually fills in the alerts right down there. So it's a nice little way that you can, it's just PowerShell. I'm just giving you a nice little window for it. So now you actually get alerts in the actual window that you can use and manage and maintain. And it actually will link directly with your syslog server. So any type of alert that comes in, it'll go to your syslog so you can keep track of that as well. Again, this is all for PowerShell. It's just, like I said, I just wrapped a nice little interface around it. So the Word 2003 zero day that came out earlier this year that everyone was rushing to fix with the RTF vulnerability part 2, because it was the same vulnerability just rehashed. So one of the things is that if you had Word 2003, you either had to use a fix me now or wait for the patch or go in through the registry and do it manually. I actually wrote a PowerShell script that went through, scanned to see if they had Word 2003 installed. If they did, I installed the registry key, and then with the PoshSec Framework, I just selected the computers in my domain and I hit run. It was done. Boom. I patched my entire system with one script using the interface. So I didn't have to go around to each box. I didn't have to do any verification. PowerShell did it all for me. And it was .NET, so a lot of the controls were built in and made it really easy to use. So the other, I'm sorry, was there? Oh. So the other thing you could do is Red Ninja. You could do like the offensive team. There's a group team called PowerSploit, and it's Matt Graber,
Matt Graber, Chris Campbell, Joe Bialik, I believe.
So what their whole idea is that they're trying to take Metasploit and turn it into PowerShell, which is super awesome. So in the same way that the PoshSec Framework wasn't just specifically designed for PoshSec, I mean, we're the same team, but it's I'm sorry, man. I have to go with other people too.
It's all right. We're good.
Okay.
You can have other player twos.
Yeah. Well, you've got your wife, so I need somebody else too. So, basically, you can take and import any of these modules directly into PoshSec Framework. So in the same way that you get a nice little graphical interface around the exploits and everything else like that that's going on, or for the defense side, you can now do it for the exploit side. And so you can import PowerSploit. In the same way you can do for the penetration testing and the vulnerability analysis, Carlos Perez, Dark Operator, he's done PoshSec mod, and that's typically wrapped around the Nessus utility. And so you can take the same things that other people in this community are contributing, and you now have a nice interface. Now, I know everyone likes the command line, but not everyone does. And if you have a team, not everyone on your team may not be proficient enough to be able to use that command line appropriately. And that's the whole point of this framework. It's meant to lower that bar. It's meant to give somebody that nice graphical interface so that they can still do the same amazing things that everyone else is working on. So the white ninja is like, where do we go from here? I know that we're working on a forensics module, incident response, and really it's based on what you guys want, or what you guys come up with, or what somebody else may work with that's utilizing PowerShell. PowerShell is an amazingly powerful tool. It's built into a lot of the infrastructure that's already there. You don't have to recreate the wheel. You don't even have to, have a whole bunch of different libraries. I just said libraries, dude. Drink. You don't have to have a bunch of different libraries to get loaded on the system. If you're a Windows environment, they've got it and it's done. So I know a lot of you are like, okay, well this is no cool, but the last time I used a new tool in production, this hasn't happened. Nice thing about being a VP is that I can tell people what tools they have to use. And so my entire team has had to use the PoshSec framework, whether they've wanted to or not. And we've taken a lot of our automation and everything else like that, and we've put that into PowerShell, and it's actually decreased the amount of time and effort it takes for us to manage our systems and networks. So a couple more features, and then we'll talk about where we're actually talking about the Call community. The interface itself is completely exposed to your PowerShell script. So you can do message boxes, you can add new tabs, you can delete tabs, you can do alerts, whatever the case may be, so that your PowerShell script can communicate through the interface. We directly integrate with GitHub. So the first time that you start up, it'll be a little startup wizard. It'll actually pull down the PoshSec modules, all the scripts, and load that off all for you. It'll check it, I think once a day it'll check GitHub because GitHub has a rate limit. So it'll check it once a day to see if there's any new updates to the framework, and it'll put an alert in there if it's updated. And then directly within PoshSec, you can check out new modules from PoshSec mod or PowerSploit or whatever the case may be. So where exactly do you guys fit in? So this is great. I saw something, I saw a need, and I wanted to be a part of it, so I decided to do something. But not everyone in this audience is a developer. Not everyone in this audience is a code monkey. Not everyone in this audience even has time to begin to work on a community project. But there are other ways that you guys can get involved. I've showed PoshSec Framework to a few people, and what ends up happening typically is that they'll look at it and be like, oh, that's really neat. I like that. I'm not exactly sure how I would implement that in my environment. And then that's it. But I get no feedback. I don't get, well, is it possible that I could do this? Or, I'm not exactly sure, how would you implement it on this side over here? Or, I have this problem, could it solve this problem? Part of being a member of this community is feedback. Is talking to the people, talking to Matt or to Carlos Perez or to other people. I know people have like spearfishing tools and everything else like that. But if you guys aren't giving back your information to those people, they can't grow the projects. So you may not have time to contribute, but you certainly have time to at least say, how could this scale? Or I'll try it out on my lab environment and get back to you and see how it works. Because it may not necessarily benefit you directly, but if your input allows us to change the scope and direction, it very well may be able to change the security landscape of another company who needs something because they don't have the budget for it. So the first thing is talk to us. Look at the tool. See what it's doing. See if there's even a possibility that we could do it. Somebody needed an event log management tool, and they were trying to find an open source version online, and there really wasn't anything good. So PoshSec wrote it. That's the whole idea, is that really with this tool and the way that we're setting up, there's really very little that we can't do. So our hopes and dreams is that the community would really get excited about being a part of everything that you see going on. You're going to have a lot of speakers that are here today that are going to have new tools, new ideas, and whatever the case may be. Try out what they're doing. Give them feedback. That is the most important thing that you can do. Even if you can't contribute to the project, at least talk back to them. Let them know, hey, good, bad, you know, don't just say, yeah, that was nice, you know, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but it really sucked. No, tell them, hey, I'm not exactly sure how this would work. Or, can you implement it in this way? Or, I have this problem, what can we possibly do to solve it? That's what the PoshSec team and what I'm doing, that's what we're all about, is that we really want to contribute back to the community, but we can't do it alone. So that's why we're calling you. You know, modern warfare right now, it's defined about, and typically it's defined about attacks and electronic APTs and everything else that goes with that. But the problem that we have in this community is that we're typically relying upon other people, vendors or whatever the case may be. And I love vendors, but oftentimes, I love vendors, but oftentimes you don't have the time to wait for a vendor to be able to push something out or to get you the quote. And so as a community, I could see something like this being able to be at least a stopgap solution to get you to where the vendor can patch it or whatever the case may be. And again, that's why we need you. So how do you do it? Well, contribute ideas. That's what I was talking about earlier. If you know coding, we'd love to see some of your PowerShell modules. We'd love to be able to take what you've done for your organization and implement that directly within PowerShell. We'll then be able to share your scripts with the community so that everyone who's utilizing the scripts can benefit from the same systems that you've gone. The most important thing is use the tools. Give feedback. Talk to people. Don't just look at it and be like, yeah, that's nice. I'm not sure if I'll be able to implement it. But use the tool and then give feedback. That's the most important thing that you guys can do for anyone who's presenting a new idea or tool. This idea that we're trying to commit is only as strong as this community. If we don't care, it's not going to go anywhere. If you guys don't want to at least give feedback, it's not going to grow. And we're going to be dealing with the same issues, the same problems that we deal with day in and day out. So one of the examples that I had was we had a client come up, and I had gone there with my information technology manager. He reports to me. He's taller than me, but everyone is taller than me. And so he looks a little bit older, even though he's younger. And so we go in there, and we go to one of the clients, and they're like, oh, so did you bring your son? And, you know, this had happened to me previously, so I decided I would play this along. I'm like, yeah, this is my dad. I haven't seen him for like 10 years, and he calls me his favorite little mistake. And the lady's face was like, and she felt really bad. So I went in there, and they were like, we've got this issue. We don't know how we can keep things up to date. We want to make sure we can automate that, but we don't have the manned resources. We pay for some local guy to do our IT services, and he's only around on Wednesdays between the hours of 2 and 4, but we need some way to be able to manage this system, and we don't know anything. Well, we came up with a solution for them, utilizing similar tools, so that way it could be automated, but we could also get the information and alerts back to us so that we could see if there were any issues without them having to have a person there on site. All it takes is just information and feedback that comes along with it. You want to talk a little bit about your call to the community?
Like Ben was saying, it starts with you guys. And I know that PowerShell may not be the language for some of you, but it's still about helping everyone out. The team that we've developed in PoshSec is all because they stood up and said, yeah, I want to help the better of the community. It's their ideas, it's my ideas, it's Ben's ideas that's driving this forward, and now it's everyone else's turn to start driving ideas forward with PoshSec. And we want to make this as big as it can be, because helping everyone out, that's how we all kind of get started in here. That's what the purpose of this conference is to help people out and to move your career forward, move your ideas forward. And this is just one of the wonderful ways that you can help give back in the community.
So, if you don't even want to do this, if you don't want to do technology type stuff with contributing to projects or using new tools, you are afraid that my new tool or our new tools will burn your production environment to the ground. And we're hackers, so it very well may be. There's other options for you as well. There's things like I Am the Calvary. There are local groups that you can contribute to give ideas. We want to see the community start to become a solid force, not just this group over here and that group over there and this group over here, and then all of the businesses are still left on the sideline because we're not coming together as a unified force. And that's our dream, is that we all become one unified force, all working towards the same goals, and really work at strengthening the overall industry landscape and the security posture. So go to the I Am the Calvary thing. Hear what they have to say. It is an amazing thing that they're trying to do. And in no way are we trying to do the same thing. We just want you guys to be active in an area. Don't be the socially squeamish seal sitting off saying, well, I'm just here to learn and I'm not going to be able to contribute anything, or I'm not smart enough, or I don't know everything. Talk to us, give us feedback. That's important. And that goes for everyone who's presenting here. So in conclusion, I really want you guys to be involved. I want you guys to get excited, to get out there and be part of a team in the same way that you would with Call of Duty, to work together towards the same goal. That's the idea. Typically what ends up happening is that you get on the team and you get fragged by your own teammates, or, oh, you guys didn't configure that properly, oh, failed, derp, whatever the case may be. We need to stop that. We need to start helping each other. Yeah, okay, you made a mistake. Last year I misconfigured the CTF. And I know, great. But Derek Thomas at Bsides Detroit, you see Doppler over there? So Doppler's over there. It's actually capturing any type of logins and everything else like that. That's Steve McGrath's project over there. And last year at Bsides Detroit, Derek Thomas was logged into the admin interface on my website that had all of the flags and the answers. Well, he left himself on the public network and Doppler got the creds. So immediately the admin password and username showed up on Doppler and I panicked like a, crazy nut. But the whole idea is that we're all human. I don't care how elite we are, we're all going to make a mistake. And we need to stop bashing each other and tearing each other down when we do something stupid and start building each other up and getting to the point where we're like, yeah, okay, that wasn't the smartest thing, but here's how you fix it. And here's my recommendation so that you guys don't run into that problem again. That's what we as a community need to do. But if we're so isolated and we're so focused on just what we need for ourselves, it's never going to benefit. And unfortunately, all of the businesses are out there and our enterprises are going to suffer because we're not willing to work together. So I want you guys to become part of this major community. Even if you don't think you have anything to contribute, you do. So PoshSec Framework 1.0 is also being released. If you go to github.com/PoshSec, you'll get both the PoshSec module, PowerShell modules, as well as the framework. These are the Twitter handle accounts, so make sure you guys follow these guys. I don't think I've got everyone on his.
No, you don't have everyone, but
so
we'll tweet out. I'll tweet out to everyone out there. So.
This is how you get in touch with me. I'm Ben10 everywhere. Ben10 on Twitter, Ben10 on Freenode, Bsides Chicago at Ben10, Ben10.com. I've said Ben10 like 15 times. I should drink every time I say Ben10.
This is where you can find me. I'm MWJ Computing almost everywhere. So hit me up if you want to talk about this or anything else. I'm cool.
Yeah, and by the way, it's Ben0XA, not Benaxa. I've had a few people say Benaxa. It's not Benaxa. Banaka. So, questions? Yes, sir.
Jeff Rottenberger.
So the question was, who's working on the forensics module? And it was Jeff. Any other questions? All right, so thank you very much. We guys really appreciate your time in here for listening to us. And this is the attribution slide for everything that's going on, for every slide that we stole from this. We'll see you guys. Thank you.
Everything is cool.